1, 2, 3. Hey everyone, it's Mrs. Graff here.
And Miss Francis.
And we are Dynamic Duets. Now it's been a while since we filmed our last webisode, so we're really excited that we're finally doing this for you. What are we going to talk about today, Miss Francis?
Today we are going to talk about practice techniques.
Awesome. That's so helpful. I remember when I was a kid and I would practice piano, I always dreaded my practice time. Not because I didn't enjoy playing piano, but because I never knew how to practice. My mom would just make me sit in front of the piano and I just play the same songs over and over again. And that's what I remember from practicing.
When I was in 4th grade, my lessons were on Mondays, and we were supposed to practice 100 minutes throughout the week. And I just remember always cramming all of my 100 minutes into Sunday night at the last second. So after years and years of practicing multiple instruments, we've took a lot of ideas we've learned the wrong way to practice. And so now we're going to put some ideas together for you so that you can practice the right way.
So here are 5 ways to make the most of your practice time.
Tip number 1.
Don't cram all your practice time into one long session. Instead, studies have shown that it's more effective to practice even for a shorter amount of time, but every day consistently.
If you are going to practice for a long burst of time, make sure you take time to take breaks. It's very important because if you practice for a long time without a break, you could actually injure yourself.
For 3rd grade recorders, what might you suggest, Miss Francis?
We suggest that students start with a minimum of 30 minutes per week. It could be 5 minutes every day with 1 day of rest. It could be 10 minutes every other day. Whatever works best for you, just make sure you're starting with at least 30 minutes. That way you'll find yourself making progress. Tip number 2.
When practicing a song, it's really helpful to separate the rhythm and then the melody and then finally put it together.
Start by going through your piece of music on tas and TTs or
Tas and tatis.
or whatever rhythm syllables you use. You can also clap or pat through it as you use your hands or your lap to make sure that you're really feeling the rhythm.
After that, you can work on the melody. This is the part where you read the notes on the staff, such as B, A, and G, and then you can do the fingers at the same time. So you can either sing or say while you're doing the fingering.
B, A, G.
Like the first part of Hot Cross Buns. Now, Miss Francis, I know that you had mentioned it's really important not to write the letters out for the entire song, but it's okay for maybe just a note or two. Why is that?
If there's a section that you can't seem to think quickly enough what letter it is, or what note you're playing, or what fingering it is, it's okay to write in a letter name or a finger number just in that one spot. But if you use it throughout the entire piece and you don't really need it, you'll end up just reading the letters instead of the actual music notation. And we want to make sure as musicians that we're learning to read the music.
After you've done those things, then you can try doing everything together, reading the rhythm and melody as you're playing on your instrument. This way, it kind of ensures that your body is prepared to do all the different things that you do when you read and play music.
Tip number 3.
When practicing, make sure that you're not just playing the parts that come easy to you, but focus on the parts that are challenging or tricky.
You'll want to isolate a measure or measures that are really hard for you and practice them over and over again. My flute professor from college would always have us practice things until we could do them 7 times in a row perfectly. Because if you're practicing it and you keep messing up, you're actually putting into your body and your brain and your fingers the wrong thing. So the wrong thing will come naturally to you. But if you practice it until you can do it perfectly and you repeat that perfection over and over, you're training your fingers and your brain to practice it the right way. But do you have to keep it in tempo the whole time?
No, it's actually really good to slow things down. So for example, I know that every year we do a song called Gently Sleep, and
we do that one too.
Yeah, and there's always one part that trips up my students. It's the part that goes A, B, G. So maybe the first day you could, if you're having trouble with that, you would practice really slowly like this. And she would do that 7 times in a row, or how many ever times she needed to get it right for 7 times in a row. The next day, you could pick up the tempo, you could speed it up a little bit. And then the third day, maybe you're able to do it at the correct speed.
Then you want to make sure that you don't just have that one perfect measure in isolation, but you can play it in the context. So you might want to back up a measure before or a measure after and make sure that you can play that measure into the next measure, or the measure before into the measure you've been working on. That way, when you go to put it into the entire piece, you're ready for it. Tip number 4.
Practice in a mirror.
I find that when you practice in the mirror, you can really figure out what you are doing well and what you might need to work on. For example, a lot of students when they start recorder have a hard time covering all of the holes. But that's not all that you can see in the mirror. What else can you see?
You can see if you're puffing your cheeks as you're blowing. You can see if you're slouched over. Perhaps your posture isn't so great. You can see if you are breathing too high, or if you're breathing correctly from a lower place.
You can also see one thing that a lot of my students sometimes do when they first start out is bounce for every note like this.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that you're keeping your body still. So practicing in the mirror is a good way to check and make sure that you're doing all of those things correctly. Tip number 5.
Listen to professional musicians who actually play the instrument that you're practicing.
It's important as a musician to not just grow your ability to play fingerings on an instrument or sing a song, but also to have your ears grow along with you.
As you're listening, you can hear people who produce such a beautiful tone.
You can also hear different ways of their tonguing, different uses of dynamics and tempo,
different styles that they use the instrument in,
or new creative innovative things that they're doing. Such as, did you know that you can beatbox and play the flute at the same time?
Yes, I did. But it's awesome. Miss Francis even told me about a woman who plays the recorder with her nose.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, pretty crazy. So all to say, make sure that you're listening to people who actually play this instrument in all types of ways. It really opens up the whole beautiful world of music to you.
Thanks for listening.
We hope you enjoyed our 5 tips for making the most of your practice time.
Now go practice! Hi, Dwight. Hey, buddy. Let me do that again. There we go. Okay. Yes, you can listen to different kinds of tonguing or different ways of doing different things. That was bad. I'm sorry.
Different ways of doing different things. That was bad.
Different ways of doing different things.
I mean, it makes sense.
Okay.
Take 3.